Wow, I'm on YouTube. This is a change. So no longer are we going to be on the Instagram tonight. We're going to be live on YouTube. So welcome anyone on YouTube that's not met us before. If you haven't been on the IG channel, welcome to Transmute Pictures, Twin Suns Foundations, Bucketheads Films live. And tonight we're going to be talking about some of the stuff a lot of you guys have been asking many questions about, which is the VFX. So the VFX tonight are going to be two of the team. There's many in the team, but we're going to bring two of the team in today. So I don't know much about it, which is why we're bringing them on. So let's get on with it. And I'll bring the first guest on, who's Tom Rolfe. I'll bring him in right now. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Happy Wednesday night.
Happy Wednesday night. Good to see you've got our friends behind us.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You got to have somebody on your back. Got someone checking the six. So
yeah, exactly.
That's what we need to do. Secondly, I'm going to bring in, and I got to get this right because I did practice, is Brandon Woloshyniuk. Did I get that right? Woloshyniuk. And I'm going to bring him in right now so he can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
hey,
that was
Brandon.
actually, hey, that was good. That was really
good.
Yeah,
awesome.
We definitely didn't rehearse that 5 minutes ago.
No. I did struggle with that one. You never know with pronunciations. But It looks like we got some people pouring in. But welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on. The VFX, as I've just said before I brought you in, have stirred up a lot of interest. It's been one of the biggest things everyone's talking about, which is making people wonder, who's making this? How is this coming to be? Because it does look pretty damn amazing with the stuff that you guys have been able to put on. I'm going to wait and see if a few more people get in here. We'll see what's coming in. But what I'm going to do first is obviously play what most people have seen, which is the start of the prologue. But first of all, Tom, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Tom. I'm the VFX supervisor on the project, heading up a very large team now. Probably, I don't know, like at least 30 VFX people. I've been in Vancouver for 5 years now. I do VFX as my day job. And yeah, I got an opportunity to work on this project a few years ago. I don't know, we'll maybe talk about how that happened later. But here I am now, enjoying doing it in my spare time, the little spare time that we have, just chipping away. So glad you guys like it.
Yeah. Brandon, what about you?
Yeah, I also day job do animation. I'm the animation director on Bucketheads. So yeah, I don't even remember what the question was. What was the question again? What do I do? Yeah,
what do
I'm
you
an
do?
animator.
Where did you come from? What do you do? And what's your social security number?
I know two of those answers. Yeah, I animate here in Vancouver. I've been animating since high school. I've been doing it professionally for almost 10 years, minus a couple little breaks here and there. Animate TV, cartoons, did a lot of that for a few years, and currently just doing video game cinematics animation, so a lot of motion capture. And so yeah, getting onto Bucketheads was kind of a nice, refreshing new thing to do. Yeah,
but still pressure.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I had never animated space flight before, but I figured I had an idea of what I wanted to do. So yeah, and obviously it worked out pretty well. I tried to give Tom a heart attack when I showed him the first dailies of my idea. So that alone was worth it, just to make everybody sweat a little bit.
Well, we got a lot of questions that have come in asking certain bits and pieces, but I think what we want to do is I just want to play a short clip to make sure that this stuff works, and B, for anyone that hasn't seen it to see it, and those that have seen it to see it again. But just looking at who's popped in here now, we got a few coming in. Hi, Ali, good to see you have joined. Hi, everybody else. What we got in here? Hey, Crone. He says he really enjoys the opening scene with the time deceptor. So that's what we're going to go and check out now. So this isn't the full scene, but I'm going to play a couple of clips here, and then we can have a quick chat about where this idea came up from and go from there. So let's get on with seeing the first clip. it still gives me the little shivers and the you know, the sticky uppy bits. It does. It's cool. It's cool. So, I mean, looking at that one there, I'm going to cut over to one of the questions that a lot of people have been asking is, how many people are in this VFX team that's doing this fan-based movie?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I think I really should have counted before this, but there's like at least 30 to 50. Maybe that's too many. Maybe it's not. But yeah, there's a lot. There's a tens of people. Whereas initially,
you don't have to name them. You don't have to name them. But there's.
I will be naming a few. But yeah, I mean, when we did the very first film, it was literally me, and then it was me and a few, and then I managed to pull on a few other people. It was like 5 of us. But yeah. It's definitely grown.
Yeah.
And every single one of these people is a volunteer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's been awesome volunteering. It's pretty crazy. I think, like, specifically on the space stuff, I think it's about 5 or 6 artists that actually have their fingerprints on that. And then there's just a lot of effects artists helping with laser blasts and rotoscoping, stormtroopers, adding artificial light on the reflections. I know Tom knows a lot more about that stuff than me, but you know, even when you don't think you're looking at a visual effects shot, it's probably got something there that you don't even think to look for. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
We got some examples of some of the creativity behind it, the befores and afters, you know, what's going on behind the visual effects creation. We got some of that we can play later on as well. So another one of the questions that's coming from Jamez15 is, how long did the space battle take to render?
Well, I mean, there's 2 parts to it, I guess. I mean, the rendering part is only one part of it, and that was kind of thanks to Francois, who's the CG soup on the team, and he basically, for this part of the sequence, he kind of helped model everything: texture, look dev, light it, render it. And I asked him earlier how long it took to render a frame, and basically, you know, when you say a frame, we don't just render the whole thing at once. We will render kind of things separately to give us more control in the comp. So, you know, he was rendering like at least 10 or more passes, and he said the most complex pass, or where we're near a Star Destroyer, it's like a few minutes a frame, but this is Redshift, so it's a very fast renderer. So I think he's got access to some type of render farm. I don't want to say where, so that helps. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, the other part of it is obviously the time taken to animate it. I know Brandon spent hours animating that, just doing the animating. I don't know if you want to talk about that side of it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have got questions about all of this stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, how long does it take is an open-ended question, I know, but I mean, any more details you can give of what went into it is obviously great.
I quickly realized during, not just that, it's not like at work when I get a storyboard, you know, from a client, and they say, okay, we want this, we want it to look like this, we want the camera to then pan left, and then it has to reveal this. And you know, I had to also just kind of think of the shot too. So I quickly realized how difficult it was to make it flow and work kind of in this 360-degree angle of space. Like every choice I made, I would almost kind of like dig myself into a hole. Like, oh, if I turn the camera here, then what next? And I wanted to give the shot that long kind of montage-y feel without it being a montage. Like I wanted it to be a battle montage, but all contained within one long shot. The idea was to kind of replace just kind of a static wide shot and just kind of give it more action and oomph. So I remember I got stuck on the shot for about a month and a half. Right after the camera crests over the Star Destroyer, I ran into technical issues. My camera had spun too many axes and it went all out of whack. And then I was talking to the directors and they said, well, we need to reveal the Death Star. So you have to pan up and go this direction. And it took me a month and a half going to bed every night, closing my eyes and just trying to think of like, okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen next? And I tried a few things and eventually I kind of landed on this where the reveal of the Death Star would happen in the following shot. But I was able to keep the shot going. So, I mean, just that aspect was, you know, it was tough. And then the animation itself, like I said, I've never really animated anything like this before. So I was kind of trying to figure out how to make the CG camera itself work with the making the ships fly with they're spaceships in space. They don't really have weight, but they kind of have that World War II movement that we know and love from Star Wars ships. So it's just a lot of artistic and technical challenges. I don't know how long I spent on the shot, but I think it was probably about 2.5 months. And some weekends I would work, 12, 13 hours straight on it. And then even when the shot was done, I spent way too many hours filling in the background with dozens of ships that I learned my lesson. I put them really far away from camera, so a lot of them don't really show up, but they are there. And we have proof of that later on in the show. We'll show you guys some of the.
Well, yeah, because we had another question come in from Martin Fisher 77, just asking how long do shots normally take to render and complete. I don't know if that means on this particular show, but generally, what would you be looking at for a rendering of a shot?
Well, I mean, like I was saying before, and I just double checked. It was like per frame, there's like 10 to 12 pass layers, and then at the longest it would be like 15 minutes per frame, and then that was how many frames was that shot?
570.
Yeah.
Something stupid.
But I mean, doing the kind of lighting and compositing side of it, I kind of knew how to approach that from my job, and I was happy to do that. But the animation is so important, and unless you've got an animator like Brandon to choreograph that sequence, when I heard he was doing it, I was just really excited, because I was thinking, great, if I can get the camera and all the anim, I know how to get someone in the team to model it, look dev it, make it look good. I know we can composite it well, but it's so hard to get an animator to spend that amount of time on it, and that's what you see in the shot. Right. You see all those combinations. I mean, it's not just the animation, it's like the combination of all the different disciplines, but that was the one bit until Brandon entered the project. I was like, well, how do we get that? So, and now I feel like now we've got a team where we've got all the elements that we need to kind of keep improving and, making it look as good and better moving forward. Yeah. So,
but before we move on to more about that, I just want to answer one question here, which has come up. Obviously, big props for the noise of the ties coming in there. But we've had this question come up before, and I think we've answered it a couple of times on our other lives, etc. But they're asking if we use military advisors for the ground and the air troops. Now, we do actually, or we have, and we will be using still a military advisor for all the ground troops that you're seeing. I don't think we reached out to anyone in the Air Force, etc. to get any. I don't think we did. I think that was based on what your guys' knowledge of stuff and just research, right? Am I correct in thinking that? But thanks for the question, Corona.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, as for the flight stuff, I mean, I've been watching Return of the Jedi since I was 5, so I daydream in space battles. So this shot was initially a test. So I was just kind of messing around, trying to see if I could find different compositions. And one thing that it's funny, because like you tell me that I have like the animation to bring to the team, but for me it's like I always wanted to animate this, but I didn't have the team to legitimize the look dev of it. Like I don't have the interest or the time to render it, composite it, and do the passes, and let alone I think Francois did like 4 or 5 different lighting keys, and then we all had them lined up. It's like, oh, I like the one where the sunlight's coming from the left. Oh, I like the one where it comes from the other side. So a lot of the work you don't even see, because you have to so yeah, I mean, just making it look cool and trying to make it look believable.
We had the fortune, one of my friends who's a Houdini artist offered to help, so he did a few of the kind of pyro explosions, and they always look great when you use a software like Houdini. Going back to that military advisor question, it was interesting because in the teaser of what's to come, so I think it's on YouTube, there's like a few clips of the next section, and there's a part where one of the stormtroopers does pats someone on the back in a certain way as they go into a room, and someone on YouTube with military experience was saying that's exactly what they do in such situations. So, right.
And I know when we were filming it, Skylar was there, so the military we used for our military advisor. Skylar was there, and we talked about how to do that scene, and he came up with why you would do it, how it would happen, and even just going down the corridor, which we've seen in the teaser as well, for this entrance into the apartment blocks. That was choreographed in the way that it would happen, from the guy leading to the third guy going to the corner to the two guys being at the door. It's really good to watch, and it adds a little bit more reality to it. One of the other questions, and again, for all those of you who joined us, this is the first time we've done this, so this is kind of our first run on using this particular software. Normally we're just winging it on IG, man. So I'm really enjoying this. So I just don't want to miss all these questions that are coming in at this time on top of the ones we've got. But one of the questions that came in here was, not sure if you've received this question before, but I'm going to ask, why stormtroopers? This question has been covered many, many times, but the long and the short of it is they never really have ever been in-depthly looked at before. And I know that we're seeing certain things happening now within Bad Batch and within, other things that are coming out. But the two guys behind this, man, Andy and Marco, they just really wanted to do the story of the Stormtrooper. They wanted to give a bit of humanization to the Stormtrooper. It's not just an evil man in a suit doing these are all soldiers at this point. We've moved on from the clones. We're now talking about soldiers. We're talking about people that have kind of got something to think about. And that's what they're trying to bring into the script. I don't want to get too into it. I would definitely recommend checking out some of the other lives, or definitely tuning in again when we get Marco and Andy on again to go into why they did this. But I just wanted to give you a little shout out to that question. But thanks for that anyway. But yeah, one of the other questions that came in, and I'm going to read this one out because it came in a couple of days ago, was from James15 again, asking what software is used to create the space battle. I know you've mentioned a couple of things, but can you just on one hand reel off what you've used?
For me, it's pretty simple. I just use Maya. I use it at work sometimes, or most of the time as well. Industry standard 3D software. So yeah, Maya.
And then, now on the lighting side, there's Maya. They use Maya as well, but then that's combined with Redshift to render a Redshift, which is like a GPU-based renderer, so it's a bit quicker than previous renderers. And then compositing, Nuke. Always use Nuke for compositing, and then for the effects with Houdini. I think that's covered all of it.
Well, you know what I'm going to do, just so I can watch it again. I'm going to play another clip here, just so we can see some more of what we're talking about in the space battle before we move on to all the other stuff, because there's questions about that too. So here we go, man. I'm just going to play clip number 2 of the space battle so we can see some more of this.
This is immediate priority. Over. Roger that, command.
That was short, but it was kind of cool. Do you think we should do it again?
Yeah, man, that was like 70 hours of my life. Okay.
so that being said, what we've just watched then for that small little clip, that panning scene that we see the Death Star, we realize that we're now looking at the Battle of Endor. I mean, that is fantastic. I mean, it's got to be said. And I did hear a rumor that this whole thing was something that was thought about doing later. It wasn't the original thought. It wasn't going to be this opening scene. Is this true that this came along a little bit later in the stage of making episode 1?
Yeah, it's kind of my fault, I guess. This all started back during the trailer that we did. Yeah, that's my fault.
Very difficult to point on this thing.
Basically, I was talking to the directors, and I think when they originally showed me the script, or maybe even before that, I just saw the first page, and it said extreme long shot of the Death Star, gentle pan to the left to reveal Endor, and there's a hint of space battle way in the background, like maybe just little tiny dots or models, and that was about it. And then we'd have the voiceover, similar to what they were saying in the final product. And I, just being a little bit cocky, just said, "Hey Marco, how would you? If you have me on, I can give you like a full-fledged space battle." And him and Andy said, "Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds great."
Why wouldn't you want that? I mean, come on.
I remember in the trailer we had a shot where the Star Destroyers are approaching Jakku, I think, and you saw that and I'm like, well, where's all the space battle in the background? And you kind of gave me a whole, you gave us an animation of like extra space battle going on. Already you were kind of adding to shots there, and then in the script for this it's just like a few lines, but then obviously you can't describe what you did in the end because took it to another level with the.
Yeah, so I think like Andy and Marco would say, a lot of the stuff, it just kind of naturally progresses, and whether it's good for us mentally or not. These things tend to grow and get bigger and a little bit more ambitious. So this might be the most extreme example of it. I would probably do a little bit better planning in the future, but I think we got in front of it soon enough. So I as long as I felt like it was me who had to suffer and put most of the hours in to like just kind of put my passion into this sequence. And once I found out that, the compositor, he spent 8 or 9 hours on it, I didn't feel too bad about it. I wasn't giving anybody else sleepless nights or long weekends. So obviously other people put work into it too. So
I mean, that compositor we had is, I don't know if we mention his name, but he's very experienced, so he makes things look easy. That guy.
Yeah. I had no idea it was going to turn out to look like that. Yeah. I was blown away, just like you guys.
I think, Marco and Andy are saying the scale of things. They maybe originally when they made the first film, they're being careful because it's an indie film, and before I got on the project with them, they were going to do all stuff practical, all the effects practical, and like I just met Marco randomly in a 501st stormtrooper parade, and he happened to just mention while we were waiting, very hot in our costumes, that he needed, he was making a film. Did I want to be in it? And I said, I'll be the VFX suit on it, and then then we could expand the scope on that. And now I think he approaches it the other way. I think they both just basically try and make it as big. They don't even think about it now. They make it as big as possible in the script, and they worry later how they're going to do it. I think that's the way they're doing it, which is good, because it's always good just to, now we've got a big group of us doing it, aim high, and then maybe
see if it can go that way.
Rather than the other way. I think.
And again, it has to be said that everyone working on this is volunteer based. There's no budget for this thing. There's no profit being made in this thing. It's totally a fan film. It's just being made by people who have got the talents to do what we're doing, and are all massive fans, where you can get the dedication to trying to bring to life this stuff that you're seeing on the screen. I will give a quick shout out to Shrek's Swamp. That's a difficult one to say after a day of work. He just said he did some volunteer work for us guys a few months back, and that's amazing. I mean, thanks so much. I mean, any of the work that we get from any of the volunteers and any of the stuff that the guys are putting time into, thanks so much. It's just, and I hope you feel super proud with seeing it come out when it comes out and gets its reviews as well. So thanks for putting the time in, and hopefully we'll see you again on it. Again, I don't know what everyone's doing out there. There's so many people. I just show up and do what I'm told, so I don't know. But Shrek Swamp, thanks so much. You could be someone I actually know, but I don't know your acronym on YouTube. It could be a really good person I know. But yeah, he hopes we're all doing great. So yeah, everything is doing great, and we are. I think I'm not going to get in trouble with saying, but we're very much looking forward to getting back into the studio in the next couple of weeks. Can I say? I think it's a couple of weeks. Definitely going to be in August. So things have pushed to the point that we can definitely say we're getting back into that studio. Many questions that come in, which I don't want to keep answering because I don't know, is when's the next one? When's the next one? When's the next one? So a quick synopsis of that is we had to put something out because everyone deserves it. Everyone needs to see how much passion's here. So that's why they put out the prologue. The prologue is going to be followed by an addition to that for episode 1. And then they'll finally finish episode 1 off with probably another installment of it. So each episode will eventually be 30 minutes long. And after this COVID fiasco and everything else that's going on, and with the gracious support from Patreon, which is the best way to contribute towards this, if you're unsure, go to www.bucketheads-series.com and follow all the links to any of the stuff that excites you, but definitely Patreon. So yeah, we are pushing along with this. You'll definitely see something in 2021. I know I'm allowed to say that, and I'm looking for any comments coming up here from somebody like Marco or Andy who's going to say shut up, but I'm pretty confident in saying we're going to see something in 2020.
Yeah, and I think the more money the Patreon gets, the faster we can do it, because that is the other thing too. But it doesn't matter. We'll still do it however long it takes. But I think that's part of it. Is like you say, it's volunteer. So that's like pushing out a 30-minute episode every time. That's where that funding that lets the people be able to do what they need to do and gives us what we need to be able to do it. But there's been a lot of other stuff that's been a bit of a hindrance this last that's true. That's
14 months, So
has it only been that?
Tell me about it. one of the questions that came in again about the space scene, which I feel wasn't long enough with that last one, that was amazing. But it asked, are the models? This is coming in from CJ Cinematics. Are the models the models that you use created by you? And another one of the questions was, where did you get the models from? And that was from Vickers 47. Sorry. So, where did you create your own models? Where did the models come from for this? And I don't even know what that means. So maybe explain that.
Yeah, the models being just the actual digital assets, kind of like toys that you're looking at on screen. They have to come from somewhere. I actually started curating models about a year before this project started. I think I had just seen another fan film with space in it, space fights, and I was like, man, I could do better. It was still really great, but I was just kind of being a little bit egotistical, and I just started spending a couple weeks looking around the internet, like Turbo Squid and some other CG model, free or cheap. So I honestly don't know where I got most of them. But just looking around on, 3D model websites, there's tons of Star Wars fans and there's tons of Star Wars models. And then, Tom, you can say, like, we didn't just take them and use them. Francois did a lot of work to, buff them up, make the texturing a lot nicer, give it more specular dirt, more details, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Yeah, I mean, like on the Star Destroyers, for example, we'd work up the bits that were close to camera because the models we found were pretty basic, and we were flying so close to them. That wasn't. When I saw the animation, it was like, oh dear, we're really close to the ships here, so we got to spend some time when there's a Francois. Spend a lot of time kind of focusing on the areas that matter. So when you go past it, he'd really work up the detail on the. I mean, the models now probably don't resemble what they ever were at the beginning. They've been worked on so much, but there's obviously so much out there. You might as well use that as a starting point. But then he just spent hours and hours kind of working on the models and then the textures and the look dev. And
he added lights to it. It looked okay from a distance, but I put the camera so close. So like there was a bunch of details that were just kind of blocks. They looked like squares when you got up close. So he flattened them out and added a bunch of geometry. And it's quite a lot of work on.
Here's one that I nearly missed, which I apologize, guys. I'll get better at this with everything if we end up sticking to this rather than our IG. But for the live action shots, this is from Brad Kendrick. Besides the laser blasts, what was the ratio between practical and visual effects?
Well, we had, I guess it's fairly even. There's probably more visual. When you say practical.
I mean, how much of thinking about the Endor scene, which I can play a clip very shortly. When you think about how much of that was practical effect and how much of it was put on later, as far as the battle.
So there's kind of stuff like, if I just talk about some of the effects to give you an idea, because there's still like a mixture of, there are visual effects, but practical as well. Because like we might see a clip of the droid, like KR8, for example, is like a puppet. So it looks like it's moving around by itself, but there's a guy sitting next to it with a couple of blue sticks doing this. So a couple of guys and girls had to spend some time painting out the blue rods, which you might see later. And then also there are lots of SFX, which means kind of explosives and smoke and sparks. But again, because of the time when we filmed it, we couldn't always use explosives in the forest because it was dangerous. So we may have like real effects, which like smoke, like an air cannon that would just blow out debris and stuff like that. And then the VFX team would add on like an explosion element on top of that, which you kind of see behind the bunker. That was actually a practical effect, but then we added the fire on afterwards. And then there's bits where the blasters hit kind of trees and bits and bobs like that. And some of that is, they've got a guy with a special paintball gun that has these, I think they're called Zerg pellets that you shoot, and on impact they kind of have a spark or dust that sprays out. And then on top of that, we got him to shoot a whole bunch of them as an element shoot into a black sheet, and then we could then use them as well to add on top to enhance it further. So there's a good balance on the day of real stuff, and that's what really sells it, having like the real effects, and then we kind of add to that. So
that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I definitely saw a lot of practical effects, and I had a lot of practical effects blow up in my face. So there was definitely a good mix of. I mean, not in a hazardous way. I mean, I was obviously wearing armor, but.
It felt real anyways.
It feels great. It puts you right in that exciting point to have an explosion go off by your bunker and go. So why don't we do that? Why don't we go in and play some of the some of the edited footage of Endor here, and just see if you guys recognize any of the bits we've just been talking about to maybe add a little bit more too. But I'll play a little clip here of this great scene of the start of the focus on the battle in the woods. God, I love it.
So that I love that one shot where the trooper gets hit. It's a stunt guy with a wire attached to the back of him, and basically he's running full speed and just.
Oh yeah, it was brutal.
That was great.
When I saw that, I thought maybe like they pulled him harder than they intended to. But it looked so violent.
What they did is they attached him to a wire, and he ran at full speed, and that wire was only a certain distance.
Yeah,
so he doesn't know. It's not like they shout pull. He ran, and when he got to the end of that wire, that thing yanked him as if he had got hit with a bolt. Yeah. It was incredible to watch. And when you talk about a mixture of practical effects, I mean, a stunt is a practical effect, if you ask me. And those guys, Chad Riley, who performed that stunt, earned every bit of awesomeness of doing that stunt that day. That was incredible. But then we saw the explosion coming from the side of the bunker in the beginning of it as well. So how much of that was just dust out of an air cannon, and how much of that did you have to CG on afterwards?
Yeah, so yeah, all the dust was just on the day, special effects, and then the visual effects was the whole kind of fiery explosion part of it, because obviously that's a bit more dangerous. But having the actual smoke to kind of use for the timing and stuff like that it's really invaluable to have. And yeah, it's great, all the onset stuff they do.
Yeah, no, that's I just love watching that thing go down. It just pieces together so well. Yeah. I mean, one of the other questions that came in, which is kind of still this mixing with everything, is from Star Wars Battlegrounds. Did you ever consider using practical models with motion controls? And I know that we did that in the fan film, right, Tom?
Yeah. In fact, I've got it with me. That's the original film. This is one of the models we used, and I attached it to a stick. And I kind of had an angle, and then it's one of the breakdowns somewhere. But yeah, that was our original approach, because we didn't have much CG team back then, and you can get really good results from practicals if you've got the right lighting. We used it on the burning ship behind them. That was a bigger model. But yeah, I mean that they look great, and we kind of the one on the actual Endor behind them. We'd shoot the model. After they shot filming, we'd put the model there and shoot that as well. So it had exactly the same lighting. So that's a really nice way to get the same lighting. But yeah, we're thinking of doing miniatures in the next section, hopefully. So we may be doing some motion control miniatures in the future episodes. So as well as CG, yeah, we're thinking of doing that.
Well, not to cut you off, but just to get through some of these clips, because I'm enjoying them. I'm going to play the other edited Endor scene here, because that means we can get into some of the behind the scenes stuff and some of the breakdowns you've been talking about and we've been tempting people with. So let me just play this next clip here so we can watch the last clip of Endor, and we'll go from there. Make sure everyone's watching.
I know, but their numbers are just so much. Listen, what's that?
Bye.
It's really satisfying to finally see an Ewok just take a shot.
Well, they kind of took away the actual shot to the Ewok, but the crushing of the trap boulder on top is just fantastic. So you can obviously see there's a mixture again of practical and visual effects. So if you got anything to add about that clip?
I remember we had a pretty R-rated, actual. We didn't cut away. Someone animated a laser going through a head, I think.
Yeah, we did.
I heard there's an unspoken no, we can't use that.
Yeah, but that boulder shot though is like a good example of a mixture of practical and visual effects, because that was. I mean, we may see a clip of that in a minute, but it's kind of 3 passes. They kind of had the boulder fall. They obviously had the Ewok rolling separately, and then they had the guy being pulled up on the trap. But again, that's what I think makes the difference on our project compared to some other ones, is just having that, doing those live action effects like that. It's great.
Yeah. One of the other questions I've just seen coming in here, I think we just mentioned this. Hang on, let me just put it up here. Was there a wire or harness? Yes, we just mentioned it. I may have missed this when you asked me this when I was talking about it. Yes. There was a wire and a harness on this one too, so we had to very carefully hide that within the armor, and that's what took a lot of time with it. And they're a very, very professional team, the stunt team here. And there is a harness. It's like a harness being worn underneath the suit, which is underneath the armor, and that harness is what takes all the weight. But it had to go down the leg and out through the foot, so it could actually hold him up, looking like it was coming from his foot. So yeah, there was a harness being worn under the armor, and there was a wire going through it. And I know on the first take, because I think I went through probably the whole roll of white tape that the gaffer had out there, because the first whip up and the first time we did that one, the wire went straight out and up through the shin into the thigh, and then ripped into the thigh. So the thigh to complete the next couple of shots, because Marco and Andy don't just want one shot of this poor guy upside down hanging around. They want to do a couple of them. So yeah, it was patch it up and move it on. So
when you say the thigh, you mean the armor piece of the thigh?
Yes. Yeah, the armor. No. We were, like I said, very professional, very awesome stunt team, and are able to produce something like that, which really everyone was just hoping was there to crush the Ewok. Yeah. One of the other questions from Social Oddities, fan of the show, how you doing? If you could do any new scene in the Star Wars universe, what would you make? Oh, Brandon.
We're starting with me.
Yes.
Honestly, I love the Return of the Jedi space battle of Endor. If I had unlimited time and budget and I could just sit here and make a 20-minute supercut of more of that. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I just love the feeling of flight, and I love and I would probably want to do some of that motion control stuff too, kind of get more of that Return of the Jedi feel. There's something kind of charming about the false parallax that you get when you shoot a lot of models on a blue screen stage with a motion control camera, because like when you look at Return of the Jedi, you see all those huge ships in the background, and if you really look at them when the camera's rotating, they're not really moving properly in parallax or in perspective, because you just know that those guys had to do tons of passes. They shot each ship once individually, and they didn't have motion track compositing like we do, so they were just trying to eyeball it, and it just retains so much of that charm, and it really determined what the shots were. I kind of paid homage to the kind of that Death Star reveal shot. That was kind of like me kind of copying a Return of the Jedi shot in a sense.
Before I cut into Tom's one from this one, there is another question that is perfect for this, because JC Cinematics asks, how closely does space battles play out in comparison to Return of the Jedi?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I watched it a bunch of times, and I was trying to figure out what part of the battle this was going on. So yeah, I put some thought into that for sure. You'll notice I had to be sneaky with not wanting to reveal the Death Star in the first shot, but you'll notice like the Super Star Destroyer, it's still quite far away from the Death Star. So I figured this is kind of like the halfway point of the battle. All the ships are scrambled, and I don't really know how accurately it was, but I tried to definitely compose the planet in the right spot and put the Death Star in the right spot. And fun fact, I think that battlefield was 900 kilometers long. Like from where the camera was to the Death Star was 900 kilometers away.
Now, you sent. Actually, you know what? Hang on, I'm done a terrible thing here. Tom, what would you remake? Back to the original question. What would you do if you could do any of the new stuff?
Well, I think I'm doing it in a way because one of my favorite films is kind of Empire and Return of the Jedi. I love the look of it, and I love the fact it was miniatures and it was done on an optical printer, and like Brandon was saying, they didn't have what we had today. That's part of the reason I wanted to try and do the miniature stuff in the original piece. So, an example of the original piece, there's like a moment when one of the guys gets shot, and I wanted to not killed, so I kind of suggested let's use the stun feature on the blaster. So I just kind of like recreating the look of Return of the Jedi, and which is perfect timing for what we're doing now. So that's kind of my goal.
Right. Cool. Everyone's getting something out of it, which is great. And Imperial Shock Trooper is in from Germany. Says hello from Germany. So hello, Germany. Hey. So what you were just talking about, Brandon, you did send over an image which I can put up if you want me to put it up, and that shows the battlefield.
Oh yeah. Take a look at this. It's
I'll put this up now. You can feel free to talk over this. There's no music.
Yeah. This is just like a quick. I was just having a chuckle one day, so I took a quick screenshot. This is, the second half of that shot when the Death Star is revealed. You can see my proxy Death Star. It's just a sphere. And each one of those scribbles is like an actual pathway that a fighter goes in that shot. So I think I had about 115 fighters and ships.
I'll put it up there again here. That's
and
nuts.
it looks like overkill, but like when I was saying, that Death Star is 900 kilometers away, and every time I spun the camera kind of that 90 to 100 degrees in this shot, and I think I had a 40-degree lens on the shot, which is quite wide. I actually work with a friend who worked on Battlefront, and he did all the cinematography. He talks directly to George Lucas, and like his number one rule is long lenses on space shots. Keep it long, 100, 200 mil, and then you compress the image and you can control what's inside. Well, I went 40 millimeter and it's wide. And when I swung that camera around, I was like, great, I have 10,000 square kilometers of empty battlefield. And I just had to keep adding stuff to populate it because I really wanted it to feel dense. Yeah. So that was kind of a funny thing. But yeah, those curves are proof that I put a lot of spaceships in there.
On the trailer shot, we originally had some procedural kind of dogfights going on to kind of to try and help with that fact, but you kind of spotted the fact that you can just kind of tell that it's not really a space fight. So procedurally, I mean, you set up kind of this thing where it's just spaceships doing spaceshipy stuff, but if you look carefully, you can see they're not really space battle. Whereas you can really see in this that you've kind of animated each thing, and when you play it over and over, there's actual purpose to what they're all doing.
Yeah. I remember they kind of looked like buzzing flies. It was the right idea, but a lot of stuff is hard to do procedurally. And actually, when I did the trailer shot, if anybody goes back and watches that one shot in the trailer, I reused all that work. So I took that scene and I nested it, and I started rearranging it and cleaning it, and I ended up copying and pasting it, I think 3 times over for that shot, because I just needed 3 clumps of spaceships to fill it out. So I didn't have to do every ship by hand every time. I'm not that crazy, but it helped it feel better in the background. And some of the animation's not perfect on them because they weren't really animated with any camera in mind. So I noticed that Y-wing kind of turns a little janky from this angle because I originally composed it from a different angle, but it's way in the background.
Here's a good one.
Yeah. I think there's like 21 Star Destroyers in it. I was like, I can push more. And Francois was like, no, that's enough.
The thing is, it's all about time, because again, on that trailer, we had less people. And we put in there what we had time to do. The guy working on it, animation wasn't his first thing. He was kind of a lighter. It was someone else. Peter Bomer was helping us on that. But, he had limited time to work on it, so he couldn't do as much animation. So it's just, the more people you get, the more time, the better something looks. And that's why it takes so long to do every episode. And hopefully have patience with us.
And what he did was, for what it was great. But, I was there, I was new to the team, and I was like, I could probably as an animator, it's just something that was more specific to my skill set to make it feel more natural. Whereas, you know, he can obviously do a bunch of things I wouldn't be able to pull off. So that's just kind of the great thing about having a big team is,
it's collaboration.
You know, we all have a different skill set to do something.
So we're gonna move into this one. I think you've answered this already, but I can't remember because I'm still blown away with everything you're telling me. Did you answer how long it took you to do the space scene? This is coming from Brad Kendrick.
Yeah, so I animated it chronologically. I hand animated every laser too, so that added about 30 hours on top of the actual like animation of the ships. I asked Tom earlier, I remember, I was like, "Oh, are you guys going to be able to do the lasers with like good perspective?" And he's like, "No, bro, you're good." And if I was better technically, I could have maybe thought of a particle system that would shoot my lasers for me, but I did them all by hand, so that took about 30 hours on the first shot. So I think over 100 hours by the time I cleaned the file and did all the background text stuff. But like pure animation, by the time I figured out how am I going to solve the problem of how does the second half of this shot go, I think maybe 40 to 50 solid hours on that long shot. And then like that last shot when that TIE interceptor zooms by camera and it's followed by the X-Wing, that one was another one. I went to bed every night for a month and I was trying to figure out, okay, my action's going from left to right, which if you don't really know film language, you know, you kind of want to keep your action cutting in the same direction. So if something's moving left to right, you cut, you want it to kind of continue going in that continuity. And I was like, oh, but Marco and Andy want the ships to be going left to right when they enter the planet to cut with the other shot. So I was like, how can I start them going off left to right, but then end with them going left to right when I want them to swoop across the axis of the camera? So it just to have a ship fly by camera like that, and to like make it composed and feel the way you want it to. I remember that shot even took me, I think, a solid 2 to 2.5 days of work just to get two ships to fly by the camera and for it to zoom around. So I see a lot of like fan animated Star Wars ship stuff, and a lot of it's really cool, but I think just the difference is with computer animation, one of the problems is you get free movement and you can get your models moving and you can get your cameras in there, and it's easy just to say, oh look, the X-Wing and the TIE interceptor, they're zooming past camera, perfect, that's what I wanted. But really to like have that as a starting point and then to really hone in on like how you want the movement to be, that can take forever. Like just setting up the camera before I could even start thinking about finessing it was like 7 hours of trial and error. Oh, what if I move the camera left a foot? What if I switch to this lens? What if, you know, I had to change the speed of them to make them appear like they're going faster, because with parallax and the perspective, they don't look like they're moving fast enough. So I have to cheat this. Oh, but if I cheat this, then you can tell I've cheated later, and they accelerate unrealistically. So it's just crazy. It can take a long time, and then when you get it, you know, you can start to add the little vibrations on the ship when it rocks, and you can start to add you know, just all the other sorts of things. So
I hope you guys can see can you guys see the comments that come through on this?
I can't.
That's fun. Okay.
Actually, wait. Yeah, if you click over on the comments tab, I didn't do that until now. So.
I just realized that too.
Oh, so yeah, sorry guys.
Sorry, guys.
Obviously there's people saying obviously amazing work, and I want to make sure you guys can see that and say hello to anyone that you know as well. Would be good. So do you want me to get on and play some of these breakdowns?
Yeah, guys, I was going to talk about some of the laser blasts later on.
Because the questions,
let's do the breakdowns first.
Yeah, some of the questions are coming in here about the lasers and what did you use to do it. So yeah, we'll play a couple of breakdowns here. Is there anyone particular you want to play first? Do you want to start with the fan film, or do you want to go straight into episode 1?
Episode 1's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Here we go. I'm going to play it now. Hopefully everyone enjoys this. If the comments say play it again, I will. I didn't edit the music on that. That did get pretty loud. That wasn't me. So yeah, so we saw at the end there what you were talking about the overlays for the.
Yeah, I would say thanks to just Johnny and Mark and Will for the VFX kind of breakdowns there. They put them together, but
yeah, that takes a lot of work in and of itself. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to talk about the laser blasts in the Endor sequence. Although it's kind of a fairly simple effect, and a lot of the shots where they're locked off, we did literally just grab a laser from that was a stock kind of footage and basically animate it. But then there are other shots where it was like a more complex 3D move, and with 3D track the shot. And then I did actually use like a particle system for those shots, so it's kind of like you just randomly kind of firing off lasers based on the position of the troops. But then you've got all the, for such a long shot like the opening shot, you got to put in all the trees and you rotate all the people so that the blasts go correctly, and then you can set up things so they hit I set up particle systems so that when it hit a tree it would kind of have an explosion go off and things like that. So yeah, that sequence, although it kind of wasn't as exciting as some of the others, kind of just took time because of the amount of shots and the consistency of it and making it all look good. And we had like an amazing team of compositors doing that for us who see if I can remember them. If I do the names and forget someone, will I get in trouble? Pretty well. So thanks to Tina, Will, Yana, Johnny, Mark. I've probably forgotten someone. But yeah, they just Adelaine. They just kind of worked solid on that. There's so many shots, and they kind of go by so quickly. But yeah, just a sequence like that to get it looking consistent, and getting like a nice looking laser blast. It takes a lot of work and there's a lot of direction too, because they direct. Mark and Andy will look at the shot and go, okay, can we just lose that blast? Have this one go 50% faster? Change the color of those sparks. Every time you see those shots, Mark and Andy have like reviewed them 3 or 4 times before we can kind of complete them as well. So
JC Cinematic says, how closely did you work with the crew during the shooting when filming all the starship flybys and blasters and blaster fire? I mean, I know you're on set a few times, but how closely did you work with the rest of the crew, or did you just sit in a room on a computer and that was it?
Well, I mean, part of my job is to be on set as a VFX supervisor. So I was on there most of the time, and one of the days I couldn't make it, I got my friend Jeremy to help out on set. So we're there just to kind of try and avoid things giving us more work. So I might add some tracking markers in to help us get a good camera track of some of the shots, or where the blue rods are placed. We devise them or place them this way because it's easier to kind of fix the background there than if you put them across here. So I mean, you always want a VFX supervisor on shot if it's a VFX shot, because it's going to save everyone time later, and also make the shot better if you kind of come up with ways to film it, like we did for that boulder shot, for example. We kind of worked out a way to film that so that it looked really good, but
is there a particular software you have to use for that? I know you said you took some laser blast and you did something with it. Is there a particular software? Because Brad Kendrick asked again, what software did you use to edit all the lasers, both with the spacecraft and on the ground, I guess, right?
I mean, it was Maya for Brandon again, and then it would be those lasers would then be passed on to Francois to kind of render out in Redshift, and then our compo would take that and then use Nuke. So we use Nuke for all the comps, and basically we just made like a laser setup in Nuke. But you can use any compositing software. Use After Effects, anything. It's not down to what the software is. It's what's available to you. So it's just I've used Nuke for over 10 years now, so I'm kind of most familiar with it. So that's what I prefer to use because I can use it. You want
me to play another one?
Sure.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to a breakdown of, again, this is on Endor, so hopefully we'll see some more of what you're talking about with all the blaster fire and adding the different orange of the sparks. I didn't know they were that picky, but now we know. So yeah, let's play this clip and take a look. That's awesome, man, to see how that goes down.
Yeah, I just want to add for Tom here. It's like not every laser shot is the same. Like I was helping Tina out on some of the animation for her lasers, and just seeing like, you know, sometimes it would make physical sense for a laser to go behind or in front like a bush, and we just didn't have the time or budget to, you know, hand trace out the bush so the laser would go behind each leaf. So there was a lot of challenges there. And, you know, anytime you see that camera moving, especially on like the big opening shot that we looked at already, you know, that you need proper perspective, and it's really hard just to kind of fake it. So, you know, Tom had a hell of a time motion tracking so you could get a 3D element in there, and with all the sparks and stuff. So not every laser is created equal. You know, there's several different solutions depending on what shot. So it's not exactly just like a plug-in one size fit all special effect. It's really about how the laser moves, how it moves in a specific shot, and how it interacts with the environment. I could see like you guys drew in lighting and stuff just to help further composite it and make it feel like it actually exists in that environment. So yeah, it's not just like a cutout laser, you know.
Yeah, that opening shot with them running through the forest was one of the last shots we completed, just because of the camera getting. We still don't have a great camera tracker on our team, so if there's any camera match movers who wants to join our team, I ended up doing it myself, and not very well. So yeah, but once you had the camera, once I had the camera, it was kind of easier because you can use kind of real physics and perspective, and obviously the lasers work correctly to camera because you're using a CG camera. But some of the other shots you can just do it by eye because it's not worth, you know.
And in a weird way, it looks more Star Warsy too when you can do it by eye, because their perspective is never perfect.
Yeah, if you freeze frame the laser blasts, because we get very particular about those shots, but if you freeze frame the lasers in the actual films, you kind of see they are very rough and ready. So.
Oh yeah.
I
actually found that out quickly on the space stuff. Like, you know, a lot of my shot is, you know, directly behind a TIE fighter, so it's shooting into the depth of the shot, like into the vanishing point. And I was thinking, like, if this was real Star Wars, an artist probably would have drawn that laser for 3 to 4 frames, and it kind of would have just magically vanished.
It did, yeah.
But in CG, like, my laser just kind of kept on going for. I had to decide, like, how long should the laser dim into the far distance before it starts to look like it's going slow, or before it starts to look like it's not moving anymore, or before it's just overstayed its welcome. So it's like, new technology means new issues, and I'm running into that in a future sequence we're doing already. It's like, and on some shots I've kind of purposely, I've had to hand key the laser to move not realistically. Yeah. Like in one frame the laser will move 30 meters, and then in the next frame it'll move 2 meters just to make it look good from the camera's perspective, but it's totally fake.
I try and hide the laser like an actor would move, and I try and hide it so it go behind him, so I had an excuse to kind of
make it hit a tree. Just make it hit a tree.
I had that same problem you had. It was just
I mean, you're right though. I mean, nowadays, I mean, you talk about looking back, and if you freeze frame something back in the days of, you know, 77, 80, you didn't have the quality of picture we have now. Like if someone was to watch this on their phone now, there's going to be a higher resolution that they're watching than they would have done back there on the cinema. So you have to be a little bit more picky now. So even though you have all this wonderful software at your fingertips and the abilities to be able to create this stuff at your fingertips now, you've still got the challenges because you've now got to make it look better than ever, and you have to pay attention to that.
And their memory is more flattering than reality sometimes as well. Like I remember I see some comments, people saying, "Oh, it's great, but your stormtrooper armor is a little flimsy in a couple shots." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, yeah, go watch episode 4 and point to one stormtrooper where he's not being held together."
We did
by
pretty
white
well,
tape.
man. We did pretty well, especially after the forest scenes and rebuilding all the stunt guys' armor. I think it's held its own now. We have very little stops to put the ab plate back in or put the crotch back together again. So
and I'd rather have something more dynamic rather than like keep it picture perfect every single frame just for the sake of it looking, you know, perfect. I think that the energy and the action comes first.
Yeah. I mean, someone asked here, I'm not sure how to say this one. There's a lot of double letters, guys. It looks like V-galot is double V, double I, double G, double L, double O, double T. But the simple question is, what are your favorite ships? And
All right.
is there one in particular? After doing all of this stuff, do you have a favorite ship that you snuck in there we don't know about, or what?
I'll say mine quickly because I know Brandon will have a long answer. But mine's more basic than his answer is going to be. It was Darth Vader's TIE Fighter is my favorite ship, or just TIE Fighters in general. They're my favorite. But
Right on.
Nice.
I don't have any proper reasoning apart from I like them. But
I like that ship too because you only get to see it once, and it's just it's awesome. Yeah. I don't know. I grew up playing the X-Wing TIE Fighter games, in the early to mid 90s. So I kind of like that original core of ships. You notice in my shots, I snuck in B-Wings and Y-Wings. I think there might be an A-Wing in there. I was thinking about sneaking in the Falcon, but it's like a really bad model. But if I had to actually boil it down, Star Destroyers are probably my favorite ship. I just love the scale. I love the detail. Half of my thesis of this shot was to just, for once, show off, because I have this awesome computer technology at my fingers. Let's show off this ship. Let's actually feel the size. So the challenge was make it feel like we're moving quickly, but then also not betray the scale of this mile-long ship when we fly past it. So I see a lot of films that they fall into that, where they'll have all this fast action and it's all cool and great, but the purpose of having a big battleship in there is to, give some contrast. So I wanted to make sure we get close to that thing and, it doesn't just go by in a second. So yeah, I think in future stuff, if I do any more space stuff, which it looks like if we're lucky, I'll be showing off a lot of Star Destroyers, I think.
Yeah, you are doing more space stuff. So.
Well, one of the, obviously the questions that start coming around now, I mean, we were already into it and we knew we were going to get excited and keep talking, but we're already into an hour. I don't have to shut off. We're not on Instagram. We're good. But, the questions are, what are we going to see in the future? What's going to come up? But I just want to I got to find it again now because there's some stuff rolling in. There's a couple of questions coming about the droid. KR8. We saw KR8 up on the shoulder there. That is actually a droid. It's not Iden Verso's. It's actually a custom designed, custom made practical effect that was done for this show. So yeah, it's definitely a one-off. It's definitely not just a laser cannon on the shoulder. It is a droid. We have done some talks on KR8. We did an interview with one of the droid builders behind KR8. Original design was done by Terry Chewy, our art designer. And it's definitely something we're going to see more as the episodes move along. But definitely a droid, definitely a one-off. Definitely has some influence, but it's definitely something that was built especially for this. Hopefully that answers all the questions that were bouncing around that I missed. So I do apologize about that.
It's going to feature some more.
Absolutely, and why not? I can't wait to see what that droid gets up to. It's good. Now another question that came in on the same one I was just saying about what can we see next is this one here. Is there a possibility we could see something like an ATST or an ATAT in the future?
Hope so.
Yeah, I hope so.
I want to. That's one of my favorite models, the ATAT. So,
honestly, Nicholas, we do not know. We can't say that for sure. But more ideas.
DM me an AT-AT model. I'll get animating right away.
Well, there you go.
Then we have to put it in. So
but that has to be said. The more
That's
you
how
guys
I get things done on this show. I make it, and then I give it to Tom, and he has a heart attack, and then the bosses tell
Francois
us we have to do it.
Well, we're in Vancouver, so we got the snow. So hopefully we.
It doesn't have to be on snow. It doesn't have to.
We should just. Yeah, that's a great idea.
We don't have to do it in snow. But hey, for the time things take, who knows? We could be in snow. Yeah, it's the way it could work out. Who knows what episode 2 is going to bring? We still got to finish one.
Yeah.
So, but all joking aside, I mean, all these comments, all of these questions, all these ideas that bounce in from everybody out there. This is a fan film through and through. So any suggestions that come in aren't off the table, right? Anything is good. So keep your contributions coming in. Keep your questions. Keep your asks. Go and visit our social media pages. We, this group here, we can't answer some of the questions. We can't say exactly when things are going to be out and done and what's going to be in it. There are questions that are coming in asking, are we going to see more variants of stormtroopers? And hell yeah, I would imagine we would. But if you're not going to see it here, another part of Twin Suns Foundation is doing Tales from the 501st, which isn't 501st Legion, but it is 501st Legion, but Tales from the 501st Legion. So it could be any character, it could be any storyline, and we've the guys have already done one of those. So the Patreon contributions that we asked for or asked for generous donations to Patreon is to bring out all of this stuff from Twin Suns. So it's not just the Bucketheads. Bucketheads will be done, but there's also other things that will be done. So we may see some story arcs. We've already seen some Scout Trooper story arc. You know, who knows? We may see some other troopers. You know, we could see more troopers. We could see, you know, whatever possibly comes into the mind of Mark and Andy could come out on Tales from the 501st. So again, if you get the opportunity and you can do it, hit up the Patreon. If you can't find it, just go to www.bucketheads-series.com and just click on our link page there and go to Patreon, go to YouTube, go to Instagram, go to Facebook. Keep the conversations going, keep the questions coming in, and yeah, absolutely.
We may or may not know some Death Troopers being in the 501st. Not saying.
I mean, everything's. People keep asking the questions. Are we going to see this? Are we going to see that? But yeah, this one came up, and again, I know you guys can see it now, but I'm going to put it up there. You know, guys, they're 6'5" or so. Yeah, but who knows? Maybe we got some 6'5" people, right?
Yeah, we may have a few of them in the Legion.
Boxes are cheap, you know, just a crate, milk crate. You know,
one of the great things that's helped out with this, and now because Tom, you're in the 501st. Brandon, you're in the 501st. I'm in the 5. There's most of the people that have got involved with this, with the costumes you're seeing, are actually 501st members, and they, graciously donated their armor to put it through its paces, rather than just standing still. We put all this armor through its paces, and there's a lot of detailed work that goes into those. So these guys are amazing. They build kits, they build all sorts of characters that you could possibly at one point see in any of these series episodes that come out. So. Yeah, and no idea is a bad idea, man. Keep them coming in, is what I would say. Did you want me to play some of the stuff in the very first fan film here, just so we can watch some more of it, or?
Yeah, sure.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, let's just take a look, because then we can see where it all started. And I think we have in there the craft that you held up, Tom, so you can see the practical effect versus this. But it'd be great to see some of this again. So let me play this now. Oh, that brings back some painful memories laying in that pitch, man.
Holy the hottest weekend of the year, wasn't it?
I mean,
yeah,
that's one thing. They look so basic now, those, but yeah, I mean, they got us here where we are now. But
yeah, so that's where it started. What we saw at the beginning of this episode here. So what do you foresee the future to be? I guess we can't really talk about that, or what you could be working on, but
I think one thing that Marco and Andy I've heard say as well is seeing both of these on Endor. It's kind of exciting. Just I know for a fact that we're not just going to be hanging out in Endor anymore. So I think just the nature of a lot of our effects are going to have a new flavor, no matter what they might be, whether or not we're allowed to say anything. So we're not just going to be in the trees anymore.
Oh, we're definitely, yeah, we can say that for sure. We're definitely out of the trees now, people.
Yeah.
We're out of the trees. We're moving on. I mean, you've seen a teaser. If you've watched the prologue for the episode 1, you've seen the teaser at the end. We're going down 1313, man. We're in the depths of another world.
That? But that's what's really exciting is level 1313. And if if you're a Star Wars fan, you know what that means. It's that the sets they're building now are amazing. Some of the other shots we're going to do now, it's just really exciting to do a different environment. So yeah, it's not going to be in a forest now. So
we haven't really done a full CG environment yet, and I think you might see a few of those coming up. Yeah. So that's pretty. Other than space, but that doesn't really count. That's just Starfield. But we've got really cool stuff, and we've got mocap coming down the pipeline as well. I think Marco and Andy have said, so I won't say what, but a lot more animated CG characters and backgrounds and stuff coming along as well.
We're using Unreal now as well, so that's the interesting part of the pipeline.
See, you're scaring me now. You're gonna be popping someone out we're not supposed to. Although saying that, we haven't had any pipe up from the bosses, so no one's piped up to say we're hitting anything too hit near the mark. But a lot of people are asking still. When are we going to see the next one? When are we going to see the next one? Right now I say don't worry too much about episode 2. Let's get episode 1 finished and in the bag. We've been told that we are going to see the next bit of this. We're going to see a future extension to this and get this one finished. 2021. I'll say get it finished 2021. That might get me into trouble, but we're definitely going to see something else in 2021 for sure. Not just
say that.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely going to get an extension to this in 2021. So I can't really answer any more than that.
I hope so, because I'm working on part 3 right now. So if we're not going to see part 2 in 2021, I'm going to be waiting a long time.
Things are happening, people. Things are happening, and it's good news, and we're all excited, and we know we're all going to get the band back together pretty damn soon and get on with this. And again, it's thanks to everyone that has contributed up to this point and continues to contribute. And I think from everything we've played tonight and the dedication from these two guys you see here, that it's going to be worth doing. There's no half-ass in here. It's going to be done the right way, and it's just taking a little bit of time to get us to where we need to be. I'm just cracking up here. Ali's just said she's playing Taylor Swift's "Are We Out of the Woods Yet?" So now I got to find out what that's all about, because that song's probably going to be stuck in the head now. Maybe that's going to play at the start of every one of these lives now. Is that "Are We Out of the Woods?"
I saw one question. Brad Kendrick said, "What's the possibility of being on your team?" So people, if people want to work on our team, it's just like if you want to work on any film, really, just send in your CV or your show reel, and we'll see if we can get you on the team. So,
but you don't get paid. You're expected to work for nothing.
Yeah.
When you don't want to.
That's the catch.
It's all of the deadline hassle without getting paid. But look at what you can do. Look what you can make. I mean, one of the things for you guys. I mean, doing what you do. Sorry, I'll just get rid of that. It's not a dream come true, but have you always wanted to work on something like this and put your own hands onto it? I mean, what did it feel like for you when you actually got to do it and saw the end results? I mean, it's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, for me, definitely. The first time I'm still getting goosebumps from that opening sequence, obviously, just because I tried to think back to when I was like a kid, and just if I could send that clip alone, that 1 minute back in time and show myself, that would be pretty mind blowing. I've always said, I don't think I really want to work on something like Star Wars professionally. I would be very wary of doing it just because I don't really want, something I'm so passionate about to become my day job. But with this, we have so much creative control, and it's not a small thing, but it's just so tangential to official Star Wars, and it is for fun. And I think just the simple fact that I've done it for me purely out of passion. I found myself 16 whatever months ago sitting at home pretty bored, and within the first month I contacted Marco and basically just made a bunch of extra work for myself that I didn't have to do at all, and it's been awesome. So for me, it kind of is a dream come true that I didn't really know that I had, because it's almost better than getting to work on something official for me.
Yeah, I mean, similar to me. I was working on Return of the King years ago, and I managed to get when I was finishing off, I got an interview with RM to work on episode 3. But I decided not to do it because, one, I felt like working on it would ruin it for me, working on it professionally, and I kind of missed my family because I was away from home. And I think, I agree. I like working on it, not professionally. It's nice to do it, like this, and getting the passion from the fans and having more control and over the story. It's kind of a dream in that sense. It's been fun.
Yeah, I'm glad, you've been in the armor as well, Tom, right? So
Yeah, well, I've got that. That's ticked off the list now.
Yeah, and obviously Brandon, you've been in the armor too. It's always good to get in that, which is good. Yeah, you're one of the dirty boys, so
Yeah, if we make it far enough, maybe I'll make an appearance in the flesh as well. So we'll see. They just have to write in a dirty boy scene.
I will quickly fly through some more of the questions here to make sure.
I see a good one here actually from Sentinel Films.
Yes,
How
that's
did you
one
get
that
the
just came
blaster
in.
marks? Yeah. Tom
Yeah.
knows that one.
Well, some of them were already on there. It wasn't as clean as this one behind me. So some of them are already on there. But yeah, go ahead, Tom, because there's also blaster marks on armor as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, how did you add? Well, but that's the thing. I mean, so some of them are actually practical because they were shooting these kind of like paintball bullets that had sparks in them, and then Compositor Mark, he used that as a reference to add on. He tracked on kind of marks onto the armor on top of that. So that's a nice example of combination of real and visual effects.
I think he had the good idea too. I think he ended up putting a burn mark. You can kind of see the chest plate flap up a little bit as he falls. So he put the burn mark underneath it too, just to kind of suggest that the laser penetrated
exactly.
it. So
it worked really well because you kind of had a tiny impact mark from the practical sparks, but yeah, the stuff he added looked good. Yeah, so that was just tracked on.
Yeah, I remember there was in the fan film there was a blaster mark on the chest piece of the armor, which I believe you had to painstakingly add or something like that.
Oh yeah, because they had a piece with and without, and then they shot some of the sequence without it on by accident, continuity error. So that was like again one of the hardest things because he was just kind of chatting and trying to track on a mark on the reflective surface of no tracking markers.
The less they move, the harder it can be sometimes because you have to subtly match it, and you can, and the human eye can see it floating. So I imagine that was a pain.
One of them was so difficult that we didn't do it in the end. And if you actually watch the original Star Wars film, you'll see a continuity error of the blaster mark won't be there in one of the shots. So if you want to go back, rewatch that, you'll see a continuity error there. It's an Easter egg.
Well, Brad Kendrick's been asking a few questions tonight. One of them came in as, can you ask what the budget is for just this first half of episode 1? Well, it's actually the first third, the way things are going. But there is no budget. But as far as what's been spent so far, I can't answer that question. Unfortunately, I don't know. That's going to be a question for Marco and Andy next time we get them on, or you can go back and watch some of the lives that we put up there, and they probably answered it at that point.
Yeah,
I think I have heard a number from them, but I don't really know if I'm at liberty to say. I think they said it on a live stream, but
I'm sure it was mentioned on one of the live streams, but I don't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot considering
but there is no. There is no budget.
It's hard to measure what we're doing too, like in dollars, like because like we're getting so many volunteer hours. People are donating sets that we're retrofitting to make more Star Wars. Like, if you were to genuinely make this as like an actual like Hollywood production that was making everything from scratch, I mean, the product we put together, it was probably pretty expensive. Like, if you actually think of it and what it would have been in real dollars.
The thing is volunteer, but there's some stuff you can't volunteer. Like they have to spend money on rent. They have to rent some kit. They got to rent cameras. They may get discount, but they got to rent like a generator. All this stuff. When you see it in the middle of the forest, they've got like food. You got to feed people. So you can volunteer goes to a certain extent, but then you've got to just
you're still spending lots of money.
Spending money on some stuff. So
everything practical effect, it needs to be purchased at some point, right? Even though, like you said, what do you call them? The Zorbs?
I don't know if I'm saying it right. But
even those things, you unless you're going to have them donated, if you want them in, you got to get them, you got to purchase them. But I mean, that, like I said, we've mentioned it a few times, and we don't really have a budget. Marco and Andy promised to make episode 1 right from the very start. They said we will make episode 1 while we try and build the Patreon to be able to continue and do 2 and 3 and 4. They've written 5 episodes, I know that much, and they want to make all of them. So that's why they're trying to get this family together that can just keep making it. And
I have huge plans for episode 4. So in like 3 years, if we know we're making that, I'm excited because it's going to be.
you're making me jot down the list here. But one of the questions that came in here, and let me see if I can find it. Oh, see, now you're making me go back down there. But it's basically, what do you want to see coming up that's not already? Here we go. Friend of the show. What do you hope to do with Bucketheads that's not currently in the works? So if you don't know it's coming, surely you could say what you'd like to do, right? Even if it's not coming, we're not giving anything away. I hope. I don't know. There could be a big slap coming, but I mean, you don't know. This is what we'd like to see. Like, people say they want to see Death Troopers. Who knows, right? So anything you guys can think of or not?
Well, for me, I mean, I'm really leaning into this space stuff right now. Like, this what you guys saw now was just kind of like a cold episode opener, a bit of a montage just to kind of whet the appetite. It wasn't super narratively driven. So right now I'm storyboarding and creating animatics for a more specific sequence involving spaceships and stuff. And then like moving forward, dude, if I can do a scene where we have, Battle of Jakku or something, and we can integrate as many 501st guys as we can get on the ground in stormtrooper armor and get like a huge ground battle going, and then I'm animating space battles, and I can do what I did already, but for like 5 minutes worth of it or something, that'd be pretty cool.
Tom, anything on your bucket list?
I'd like to see Vader in it, but I don't think that's possible, is it?
I don't think so. Not knowing what we know about the storyline.
Maybe a flashback. There you go.
Oh God, let's not. Hey, but Tales from the 501st, anything's possible.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
All right, let's try and get in. Let's try and get these in because we got to wrap it up at some point. Here's a one. I don't know what this would mean, but it's from David Conant saying, "What do you do regarding models that have clauses saying you need to credit the author? Is that something which you would even use, or?"
Yeah, I just wouldn't use those models. But it was so long ago when I picked all these up. But I think a lot of models out there, like when we got the Stormtrooper model for the opening trailer, we paid. It was super cheap. It was like $40 or something. Just pay the artist, obviously. So we have a small budget, obviously, for anything we need to buy. But we also modeled. Like we've got a specific asset coming up in a future in part 3, I think. And we've completely modeled stuff like that from scratch. So it's just kind of depends on what it is. But yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's why I don't want to know, so I don't slip up and say what's coming. Just tell me when I get there. Another one that came in, again, a question we get quite a lot from Ammon Henderson. Just curious, did you acquire any rights or license to make these? And I'm thinking they're basically referring to the episodes. Well, these are fan films. Fan created content, and because of that, it's something which you don't have to. There are certain criteria and guidelines to stick to, and that's what we're doing. Definitely not profit, definitely not under a budget, and it's not solely the main goal of Twin Suns Foundation here. So yeah, we're just here to make a fan film. We're here to create something which is hopefully going to bring a lot of fun and happiness to people, and that's what that's what we're doing. We're making a fan film, and fan films are allowed. So there's no license needed. Hopefully that answers that. I'm not very good at answering those, but I know I've heard it before mentioned by Andy and Marco. Tony Slamboni says, are LGBTQ stormtroopers allowed in the Empire? ? Now, I don't know if that's just a generic question to say, are they allowed? Or is it referencing the first fan film where there was quite obviously that going on? So yes, I would say yes. And the Empire doesn't discriminate. They want anyone who's willing to give up their life for them. And I think that's what we're finding out when we get deep dives into what the Empire is all about. But, you have female stormtroopers, you have male stormtroopers, you can have a stormtrooper of any kind. Now, they're not clones. And whether the sexual orientation of that stormtrooper is not something the Empire is worrying about, and it's definitely not something that the Bucketheads team is worried about. So yeah, everyone's in. You want to wear that armor and you want to do it, you're in, regardless. So I'd say that's the same thing for the Empire. They need as many conscripts as possible. So yeah, absolutely zero going on here where no one's not welcome. Hopefully that was tactful.
That's everyone's favorite subject right now.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely true, man. It doesn't matter, man. You're in the armor and you're doing your thing, and no one gives it.
All the better, right? More people. Yeah.
Nicholas Stark. I think we kind of covered this one before. How would it be to animate vehicles? We kind of covered that one already, so I don't think we need to get into that one again. We know that somebody's really excited to do it, and if they could, they will. This one's kind of interesting. EJ Gaza, how did you do the explosion effect of the imploder grenade from the fan film? Now, I know that was, again, practical, right? And visual.
Well, it was a mixture. There was like I don't know the technical name, but like a dirt cannon, where they basically stuff a compressed air kind of funnel full of dirt, and then that kind of all explodes. And then I had a compositor help me. We just got an element of fire and kind of blew it out, then reversed it, and then did some extra kind of field effects on top of that. So yeah, it's just a combination of live action and visual effects again. So
Yeah.
Cool.
and we referenced the the what's it called, that game, Battlefield.
Battlefront.
Yeah, Battlefront. I don't know the name. You had to make it match exactly.
I think we caught up here, man. Here's one. There you go. Sentinel Films. How many Stormtrooper armor sets do you have?
Tom has 1, 2, 3, 4.
Is that armor sets or helmets?
Well, I've only got one. Well, I've got the one armor set, and I've got a Vader as well. So yeah, I'm adding a patrol trooper soon. So
Nice.
that'd be nice. Yeah.
I've got a sand trooper. I got a unbuilt. I actually just sold an unbuilt stormtrooper. My girlfriend's got a stormtrooper on the go, and I've had other ones in the past too. But and we have a scout trooper as well, and then an extra helmet. I don't know. Where does all this stuff come from?
Yeah, I'm just always happy to have my TK, man. That's what I've always wanted. And it's done. I have to be honest. It's pretty beat up at this point.
Time for a new one.
I know, man. I know. But as far as Bucketheads go, there's we for this particular filming, for this episode 1, we did rebuild and build a lot. So the main actors that are in there, when we started off, we put them in someone else's armor, and that's not good, man. So we have built, and I know because I've done it, many suits of armor now that are custom fitted for those actors, and especially the stunt guys. So we now have a really nice piece of stunt armor for stunt guys to wear, and hopefully we've trimmed and sized and made all the other armor for the principal actors comfortable too. So many different sets. I think that might be it, guys. I think we could be done. We've done 26 minutes over what we said we would.
Good thing I'm not charging overtime.
Yeah.
Hey, there's no one being paid for this ever.
That's okay. That's okay by me.
It's paid in the amazing comments that are coming from the people that are watching us here today. And thanks very much for everyone to join in and come and do that. I mean, I don't know if we need to play something else. We haven't got anything else. Maybe I'll just do one more of the space battle clip number 1 that we saw at the start of the show for anyone who didn't see it, because I'd love to end it on that. And cool. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to come back and say goodbye. So I'm just going to do one more clip.
Okay.
Brilliant. Tom, Brandon, thanks so much for joining us. Everybody out there, thanks so much for giving us our first go here, trying to get control of our new system, which I think worked out really well. I'm kind of digging the fact I can stop reading the comments and actually post them up, which is good. Cool. So we're definitely going to do this again, I think, at some point. And again, amazing work, guys. Done such a great job there. So exciting to watch time and time again. So I really enjoyed it. Awesome. Look at this.
Oh, thanks, Brad. That's awesome.
Thanks, Brad. That's awesome.
And yeah, I think Brad also asked earlier, maybe give an email for him to contact. I think he was asking how to contact us for possible work. So I want to give him that. Yeah,
reach out on one of the social media platforms, or go to www.bucketheads-series.com, because that's our landing page. So you can go to one of those and reach out, and a lot of the guys behind the scenes there will be monitoring the messages and chats that come in. So send a message. I'm not sure of what the email would be at this point. I don't know if Wallace is still out there. Maybe Wallace knows what the email is. Commander Selfie doesn't appear to be on today, guys. And normally she's filling in all the blanks, but Brad, just reach out onto one of those social media platforms, whether it be the Instagram, the Facebook, or anything like that, and just reach out, and somebody will get a hold of you and let you know how to reach out to the proper channels.
Yeah, thanks, Brad.
Guys, thanks so much. I'm going to do a great big end of broadcast here and say, can't wait to speak to you again. Can't wait to see you again and get back into the studio and start doing some more stuff. It's always good seeing the work you do, and it's always great chatting to you guys out there. Thanks, and see you next time.
Thanks, Steve.
See ya.
You guys.
Thanks. See ya.